Good evening, folks. This is Tennyson E Stead, writer and director of Quantum Theory, founder of 8-Sided Films, here with another 8-Sided blog. It's been a while since I've given a Quantum Theory update. And for anybody who's watching for the first time and maybe isn't aware, Quantum Theory is our debut feature film as an ensemble and as a repertory. It's about two young inventors and particle physicists who develop a prototype that lets them change reality at will. It's a big chair that you sit in with these kind of pods around you that soak up the quantum emissions of your thoughts and then create reality. They sort of amplify them and readjust reality around you. That technology gets stolen by a defense contractor, and these two women wake up in a world where they signed the patents over 5 years ago and work for the bad guy, and they have to figure out that this is what's happened and find a way to steal their technology back. And it's a science fiction heist movie. It's a lot of fun. The relationship between the two women is very much, as I keep saying, like Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. And it should be a great time at the movies, and also kind of a chance for people to get to know us a little bit and kind of see how we are together, because we are kind of a quirky, weirdo heist team. That's sort of how we operate. So it's kind of a good baseline film to bring the audience into a space and, you know, get personal with them for a little bit, and then when we do more dramatic stuff and maybe a little bit more difficult and challenging stuff down the road, it'll mean something different because we shared quantum theory first, I think. So that's what the movie is. And I can't talk about the process of financing quantum theory until the process of financing quantum theory is done. That's a legal issue that in fact is very reasonable, and it's in place for good reasons, and I'm just, you know, I have to be super careful about that. So I'm not going to get into details until basically we're in pre-production, at which point there's no reason not to. But what I can talk about is the overall mindset that people get into when they start working on the really, really tedious parts of filmmaking. People have talked about a numbers game in sales, which basically amounts to the idea that if you hear no enough times, you're going to get a yes in there somewhere. And even understanding that, people engage the process of film finance, people engage the process of film development, or even just selling screenplays, or building acting careers, or other parts of selling a product or a service in Hollywood, and find and discover that it is in fact extremely tedious, that it's extremely difficult, and that nothing seems to be moving forward. And then they quit, even having rolled through the numbers. And what I want to explain here and now is that if you're going to succeed in Hollywood, and if you're going to succeed in entertainment, the first thing you have to understand is that it's not a reasonable goal. It's absolutely unreasonable, okay? It's not something people are meant to do in our society. In particular, the United States of America has very little federal funding for the arts. It's not only extremely competitive, it's extremely unsupported. And ultimately, you're going to find yourself in economic problems, you're going to find yourself with emotional problems. There's all kinds of unsustainable aspects to what you're trying to accomplish. And our job as entertainers is to find ways of making them sustainable. And the first thing you have to do, understanding that it's not a reasonable goal, is to let go of all of your reasonable expectations of how this is going to work. You have to let go of all the timetables that you think you should be able to accomplish this on. You have to let go of all the responses you think a person should have to what you're trying to accomplish. You have to let go of any expectation of reasonableness. You have to just put it out of the window, let it hit the ground, and never think about it again. Because the truth is that it's not going to be. Even if you are one of the lucky few who has certain aspects of your plan rewarded by a reasonable response overall from either the Hollywood community or from investors or from anyone that you're looking to build relationships and partnerships with, those moments of luck are going to be few and they're going to be far between, and you've got to be prepared, especially if you have that luck, to bear the project through all of the other parts of the process where nothing reasonable happens and where every single aspect of what you are accomplishing turns out to be this agonizing grind. And the truth is that if you find ways of sustaining yourself and sustaining the workload that's going to make the project successful through the unreasonableness, if you find ways, in other words, of bearing the risk of failure all the way to success, if you build habits, first of all, because so much of this work has to be done automatically in order for it to happen at all, you've got to just build habits that you know on a day-by-day basis eventually have to take care of the problems that you're facing as long as you stick with them long enough. You have to reduce every single aspect of the development process down to that level. Or if you're an actor, the audition and solicitation process, or if you're a screenwriter, the pitching process, or whatever the case may be. You have to find a way to make the grind itself daily and without ultimate consequence to your health or your well-being. You have to find a way to make that grind the thing that you do every day, and it's taken care of and it's handled, and then you can build on that infrastructure instead of trying to build on the lucky moments where things go right. And the really, really crazy, frustrating part of this whole process is that other people who see you engaging in that grind are not going to understand that that's the most important part. They're not going to understand that that's actually the core of the value that you're bringing to the industry. They're going to be confused because it's the most unsexy thing to look at. And at the same time, it is the core of your value. And it is the best part of what you're bringing to the industry. And the fact that you're bringing other things means those things are built on top of, ultimately, what becomes a guarantee of success, because you're not going to quit until it's taken care of. But that expectation of I'm not going to quit until it's taken care of has to be framed within the box of this process is going to make you crazy. It's going to drive you insane. It's going to grind on and on and on. And when you hit that moment where you realize you just can't take anymore, and you realize that, if it doesn't happen tomorrow, you don't know what you're going to do. You have to hit that moment knowing that you're going to hit that moment 10 more times before any possible ultimatum that you think you're going to issue the entertainment industry at large is going to come to fruition on your behalf. So if you're not prepared to work right through that and just hit the next day and the next and the next, then you're going to find yourself in real trouble. But if you can build a system for maintaining the workload that's going to see your project through to success, even under situations of excruciatingly unfortunate luck, then it's just a matter of sticking with it long enough for it to pay off. And that is where we are with quantum theory. That's been the process. Things are looking very good right now. There's a lot of reason for optimism, but again, it's a numbers game. Things could very, very well fall apart and we could wind up right back in the grind. We are in the grind. I was grinding today, even though we have positive expectations, because I don't want to be caught tomorrow without having done that work. I want to make sure that that work is always supporting us. And that's how I know all the web series stuff that we're doing, stuff like Declassified, is supporting you as an audience member, you as a fellow member of our community, as we bring this film to you. That's how I can talk to you with confidence and assurance about the future of the company. It's because I know it's just a matter of time before, click, things work out. Because the amount of labor and the amount of grinding that I've put into the film exceeds what anyone would consider reasonable, far and away. And it's going to keep on going until the unreasonable conclusion, until the unreasonable win. And the insane thing about that process is that as soon as we see that victory and as soon as we see that success, everyone is going to try to find a way, and by everyone I mean press, the bloggers, the rest of our community, those people who are not immediately part of the process but are still interested in the film industry and not just movies. Those people are going to look for ways to explain it in terms of luck so that they can count on the same thing happening to them. And it's never going to have been luck. The amount of bad luck that we had to work through to get to the good luck just would overwhelm, I think, anyone I know who's not involved in the project directly. And so that's what you have to prepare for, is to work through a sea of bad luck, an unreasonable, endless sea of bad luck, until you find the piece of good luck that you need to make things work. And as long as you approach every single problem with that work ethic, then there's no amount of bad luck that you can't handle. It's just a question of getting through it. I think that's the end of this blog. I think that's all I had to say on the subject. That is, again, I want to be clear. Things are actually looking very good. There's a lot of reason to be excited, and as soon as those reasons become concrete, I promise you will be the first to know. And in the meantime, rest assured, I'm putting in hours of work, every single week into each part of the process of the quantum theory development process. And then, in the meantime, we look forward to bringing you Declassified. We've got a set designer working on the interior of the Icarus, what do we call it? The Icarus spacecraft? Anyways, the command module. That's what it's called. And as soon as that's ready, we'll be able to shoot. We have the costume. I have it sitting right here, as a matter of fact. The costume for Declassified, right here, the space suit, and our Snoopy cap from costume designer Gabrielle Scavarisi. And we're excited to do that and, show you guys a little science fiction, bring something neat to the interwebs before we get cracking on the actual pre-production process of quantum theory. Once we do get into the pre-production process of quantum theory, I'll just say briefly, things are going to get very quiet on my end for just a little bit because there's going to be a mountain of work. But we're going to take a lot of photos, we're going to do a lot of videos, and we're going to make sure that we have a wealth of information for everybody about what's actually happening behind the scenes. And every step of this process will be documented. I just don't know how frequently I'll be posting on Twitter, at least until we get, into production and we have someone to help us manage the flow of that information, because my schedule is just going to explode as soon as we get into the actual work of making quantum theory. And then, during production, it'll be somebody else posting the videos, and I'll be there to smile and say hi whenever the camera's pointed in my direction. I'll show you what we're up to. And then as we get into post, I'm probably going to be in charge of editing, but there'll be plenty of breaks where I can do little vlogs and stuff. So it'll change back to more of what we've been used to once we get through. And then, as we go into future productions, we'll streamline that process to keep the information going to you a little bit more smoothly. I'm just giving you the heads up that things might get a little bumpy in terms of communication as soon as we actually start building the world of quantum theory. Thank you for joining me, and I'm signing off. If you do like this video, give us a like down here, give us a subscribe right down here. Let us know that you like it. If you enjoy the Starmind record, some of the other Smoking Hollywood, and you want to see more web videos from us, a subscribe is a good idea if you want to be notified when Declassified comes out. That's a good reason to subscribe. And you can follow Quantum Theory on Twitter @QuantumMovie. And with that, I shall sign off. Have a lovely evening.